meet about school transportation and crimes, and I felt it was time that we bring people together here, and so we could trash this matter out to see how best we could handle it. The crime is not plentiful in Howard County as is in PG County and Baltimore County and Montgomery County. Before it's seeded here, we could do something to block it. But I posted a meeting on the same place that they complain on next door. I did have quite a few people look at it, and if they don't show up, my answer to anybody, you had a chance to come here and lay your case to see what we could do informatively and to be the eyes and the ears to look around, and nothing was done. So that was the purpose of bringing the meeting together for the crimes. For the school transportation, why I call a meeting for that? I walk to school. I walk about 2 miles all my life. That's why I got this hard muscles behind my calf. Walking is in my genes. So I don't mind if kids walk to school a mile and a half, but they must not walk alone. They should walk with their friends, because pedophile. 2, not on the main road like 216, even Gorman Road or Stephen Forrest Road. Those are busy roads. But if you're like in Laurel Woods, that's more family and enclosed. Walking is good. I would advocate walking not only to go to school and from school, because you're doing 2 things. You're going to school and you're exercising at the same time. It would be healthier, because then you could eat what you want. You won't gain the weight. So I look at it that way, to say it's 2 things you're doing. You're going to school, you're making friends, you're having fun with your friends while going to school, walking, and you're exercising. But I'm concerned about the loneliness and the busy roads. So that's why I call those meetings.
Well, right now, I think that probably the biggest issue are the buses that are still not showing up, the buses that are showing up late, the buses that are dropping kids off at inappropriate places, the buses that don't come to school in the afternoon until 20 minutes after they're supposed to be at school in the afternoon, the bus drivers who still don't fully understand the routes that they're supposed to be driving, the buses that aren't taking kids to activities, to regular school activities to which they have always been bused. And to your point about I'm okay with kids being, okay with kids walking, I have been an advocate since my daughter was 6, for 10 years, that we should start school later for high school students, because that's what the science says. And they sort of did that at the beginning of the year. My own opinion was that it wasn't late enough, that what the science shows is that the circadian rhythm for teenagers means that their melatonin doesn't release until around 11 o'clock at night for most teenagers. So they need to sleep until at least 7 o'clock in the morning. And that means that they shouldn't start school until at least 8:30 in the morning. And for a lot of teenagers, if you're really going to follow their circadian rhythm, then they wouldn't start school until 9 or 9:30. And it's not because they're lazy, it's actually because that's the healthy thing to do. The school district made an ugly attempt at trying to start school later that, number one, didn't even include a full sleep cycle, which is 40 minutes. They started at 35 minutes later. And then, number two, the first thing they cut back was the high school students starting later, and they took 10 minutes away from that 35 minutes. So now they're at 25 minutes later. But the bigger issue, well, that's a big issue for me. That's a really, really big issue after being an advocate for 10 years on this particular topic. But the equally big issue is when they made that decision, they made it at the same time that they said, now we're gonna have high school students walking 2 miles. And most of the schools where high school students can walk 2 miles are schools that are in some of the biggest low-income neighborhoods. So now, the kids, according to all the studies that have been done, the kids who are most likely to actually gain something from starting school later are low-income kids. And now, they have to get up at the same time in the morning to walk to school that they would have had if they had taken the bus to school. So there's absolutely no benefit whatsoever in having a later school start time for the low-income kids who are now all walking to school because they're 2 miles away. So it's like lose, 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 lose. I actually didn't see any winning in this situation, given all the different circumstances that we're facing now with the bus situation. Here's one good thing maybe that's gonna come out of it is the Senator Lamb, our state senator, has put in a request to audit this whole situation with the buses, including the procurement process. So I think one thing that will happen out of all of this will ultimately be the fact that we will learn what really happened, why it happened, who was responsible for this happening, and why we can't get it fixed. We're more than a month into the school year, and I don't have a kid in school anymore, although I will always be an advocate for high school students starting later in the day. But I know the two of you do, so I just set the table with all of my concerns, and I will let the two of you talk about
I
it.
guess that may take a year, so this may not resolve until the next school year begins.
Oh, hopefully it won't. I don't think it will take that long. Oh, you mean
The issue.
Oh, the issue overall. Ugh.
But I should share
It
this
could,
with you with
yes.
what I observed.
Yes.
I should share this with you up there. What I observed lately, because I walk at times, and this I saw happen on Grand Avenue in my area. I've seen parents who are lazy to walk at a location where the people group up for the kids to pick up with the young ones. And the school bus will drop one here, 2 houses down, the next one there, and then one next house, just from one house to the next.
Yeah, they're not
right
doing
up.
that anymore, baby.
I've seen it happen
Well,
on
I
Grand
think-
Avenue.
Yeah, the routes are very, I mean, Grand Avenue might be specifically like that because of the lack of sidewalks. They might treat it as a hazard route and more like a rural Western Howard County route where they're doing door to door.
Okay.
They have a whole process for how they determine that, and the Complete Streets policy, really, one of its metrics is to be tracking how many students within walk zones are being sort of connected to that type of infrastructure, so that.
Yeah.
Can we go over to crime then, Phoebe, since we do
Okay,
have all these gentlemen
let
here?
me finish with this bus situation, particularly on the main road. Now, my advice to the main road with the school bus, I would advise if there is the school bus to pick up the kids in that little gazebo area,
Yeah.
or pull over and go into the development and pick them up, rather than on the main road, because when you see the working people going,
Yep.
they're losing money, they're losing time.
We've,
There are like 15, 16 cars back up on Stansfield Road. I would see it there. I would see it on Old Stansfield Road. I would see it on All Saints Road. I would see it even when I track in to go and peek into Gorman Road up there.
yeah, the traffic
Go
patterns
in
really
there
change
and go
during
into
school year.
Savage on the main road
Yeah.
there. Because the school bus need to go into the
So
location.
can I ask,
to prevent that.
can I ask a question? I mean, I don't have kids in school, this doesn't affect me, but what's the root cause of this bus situation? I mean, I think that's,
There's a lot of causes. So part of it is the additional routes we've added. Part of it is during COVID, a lot of the bus driver workforce was retired. And after COVID, a lot of them don't want to return to an environment that is higher risk for them. And so the nature of those CDL bus drivers has fundamentally changed. Back in the day, there used to be a monitor with the bus driver. So you had a driver and you had a monitor. My dad told me he was a bus driver. I said, sorry, what? But then he explained he had a monitor, and it all made sense. Because he'd be a great driver, but I couldn't imagine my dad driving a bus and managing a bus full of kids. I love my dad dearly, but 60 children, it would be a lot for him. So the workforce has really shifted. And the previous bids were more, I would say, since we've started, they were in the 60s and the 70s and the 80s, $80,000 a route. Some information we've heard this last time is that the previous contractors put in bids at $87,000 a route, but that the new company put in bids at $117,000 a route. And so I think a lot of us have a lot of questions about why that the choice was made to go with this company that I guess I would definitely, at a minimum, say overpromised and under-delivered.
So basically it was money. Before we start up, now that we get more people, I'm going to introduce each person that I know, and then I'll ask others to do self-introduction. So my name is Baby Foston. I'm the coordinator of the meeting. In here is our association secretary, Southern Howard County Civic Association.
Hi, Michelle Vidal.
Board member,
I'm Marco Midona, I'm her husband.
and it happened to be that one of our members that live in our area is Judge Felston. He lives in our area and he's a member, he's a founding member of the association.
I didn't know
So we have some representation in the area. And then our long-standing member, tell them.
Maybe not member, but I've certainly been in the neighborhood for a few generations. So our family lived just 1,000 feet, 2,000 feet that way for multiple generations, and we are very much impacted by the decisions that occur within the local
And then I
government.
happen to bring together for the school board issue, our county council.
Go ahead.
I'm Christiana Rigby. I represent District 3, which if you are on the east side of 29 and north side of 216,
I have no
prior
idea.
to that circle that Bibi was mentioning on Skaggsville Road, I'm your representative all the way over to the other county lines.
So, and then I don't know if I'm in the next county
Right,
council.
which is District 4, and I am the county council member for District 4, which is right next to District 3, and it does include a part of North Laurel, Fulton, and at least in this area, Maple Lawn.
And then we have with Christian.
Yes, I have Paige Goldshire, who's my district aide, so if you reach out with a constituent concern, Paige is usually the one who's going to be your case manager.
And then we have two others who would be involved that I was told is who's going to be present here. PC Kendall, who is that person?
I'm sorry, Jason. Oh, I'm Jason Kendall with the Howard County Police Department, over 25 years or so.
Okay, I heard he is
Community resource officer.
for our area district
For the
3.
county. I'm in the county, just the county resource.
Just the
officer.
county.
For the entire
And
county.
then we have PC Zhao.
Right here, Jeremy
He-
Zhao.
He's
With
for
about 10
our
years.
district 3 or 4.
So we are both part of the community outreach liaison section, so we represent the entire county now. It's not assigned to a specific
And
area.
then happened that two others came along. Please introduce yourself.
I'm Lieutenant Gordon Kuna. I'm the watch commander for Southern District. Work on certain rotation on night shift. We're working tonight, so patrol-related questions or
Okay.
topics I
Glad
could
to
certainly
meet you.
address.
Okay, we're glad to meet you.
I'm Sergeant Ambrose. I work under Lieutenant Kuno. I supervise the officers at the patrol
Okay,
in
so
the
you know
area,
who is
Northwell
who
area.
here. And thanks for coming out. These are attendees. Please introduce yourself.
John Walter, I live in Washington Avenue in North Laurel.
Jan Cossaboom, same address as my husband.
And you?
My friend Beth, she's the chair of the Republican Central Committee. She said you invited.
Yes, both sides. I did send.
So
invitation.
she asked me to come. My
Okay.
name's Lisa Garrity.
So the reason for the meeting is to help put some plans together that we could curb the crimes and the escalation before it reach here. And already it must be touched down here because a couple weeks ago, one night, I heard about 13 stores were broken into in Columbia area in less than 3 hours on the news. So it's here, and then I always hear about on next door, always cars broken in, cars stolen, people house tampered, but the meeting was published on next door and certainly all the email address I got, I sent it to. So if people don't come to the meeting to voice their concern and to have a plan as what we're going to do to help stop the crime before it escalates in our county, I don't think they would have a voice to say on a better stage than this because we have Josh from the Howard County State Attorney's Office, he's the deputy, we have the county council and then the people who watch out to stop the crimes, the police department here, so I think I managed to bring a good panel together to help solve it, but if they don't show up,
Well, we're here to answer any questions that we
Yes,
can
we
answer.
do.
So if anybody has a question for us and we can answer it, we'll answer it. If it's something we can't answer, we'll find an answer for you and we'll give you an email. We'll talk back and forth, call you, stop by the house or
Okay.
email. So if anybody has any questions for us, we're definitely here, bounce it off us, we're listening, what we can do to help or make things better.
Can I make a quick suggestion?
okay, the two things that we came here to talk about was school transportation and crime. We already touched on the school transportation, but you that come in later, if you guys have anything to add to the school transportation, you go ahead and add it now.
Could I do a quick wrap up on items?
Yeah,
Most of you know me. I am on the PTA council. I was their president. I'm now their legislative chair. We are monitoring the bus situation very closely. And
Kind of a housekeeping kind of thing. For those of us who walked in late, apologize for that. We tried, but we got the wrong room. Can we get points of contact and that kind of information now before people have to split and go their different ways? Maybe a sheet or something for the officers and we can all have, maybe take a picture of it or something before we go? Do you have a sheet to pass around, maybe?
a sign-in sheet, yes.
Yeah, if we
I
can
have-
just get the principal, the folks that are points of contact, principal points of contact.
I have,
Way we're measuring it, we're making sure that we're making progress on that specific issue. That said, I personally, my bus route has not necessarily followed the routes that we were told, the stops. So the
Another
stops are a
thing-
little strange,
okay,
but now that we have our bus driver is now, and this is again just the one in that story, but our morning driver is consistently the same person now. And our afternoon driver is a different person. So the morning has been worked out, but we get a different person every afternoon. It might be helpful to go back even further to kind of how we got here and some of the complications. So during redistricting in 2019, they decided about 1,400 students would be sort of double bused. So 2 buses go into a neighborhood and then they go to 2 different schools. So that's 1,400 kids this year that they're doing. But we've asked, we haven't gotten the information on sort of what that attrition plan looks like. How many students of those 1,400 are graduating? How many routes will you still be doing next year of these double runs? And
Are
then
you referring to the new high school in Reservoir, that situation? Because
Yeah.
that's also, okay,
yeah.
all right.
And now Hammond is about 100 students short its sophomore year class because for some reason they said no to students at one of the schools. it's a mess.
They let students at Reservoir say no to transferring over to Guilford Park. But I think what the principal Reed was saying is that they actually did not let students at Hammond say no to going to Guilford. So they let students at Reservoir, or maybe they
It
said
was
no
Reservoir to Hammond.
Reservoir to Hammond.
Yeah, so that's
Yes.
it. So Reservoir to Hammond students could say if they wanted to stay or go.
Yep.
And so some stayed, but then Hammond students had to go. So instead of sort of replacing that student body in that class for the sophomores are just 100 short now.
You'll find a very tight cohort of friends who
Yes.
stuck together,
Oh,
which
no.
influenced those decisions. Bats.
I am not saying good, bad, one way or the other. I'm just stating the numbers of the situation. So,
Okay.
so there was that, and then they made a choice to change the times, but they wanted to do it without increased cost, which we'll come back to later because there's been increased cost in the routes. And then they also expanded the walk zones, just like Ms. Young said. So they have these compressed times. But what we have been unable to determine is why the shift, what was the driving desire behind the shift to the new company? Previously, they had a very, I would say, certainly challenging procurement process by bidding on each route, but surely they could have found efficiencies there without sort of exchanging all of the drivers. One of my issues is that the company is a venture capital funded company, so much like Uber and those kinds of places, they come in and then it really changed, because they have so much money, they change the landscape of what exists. And so my concern is, I mean, we've already lost bus companies. We've lost bus companies from our county, but we've also, lost them to other counties. And, we've been meeting on the 11th with the Board of Education to hopefully discuss some of these issues.
PC's all?
North
Come on in.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've all been down in another room.
Oh,
You're
no.
in a different room, so there's a whole bunch, I'll bring them up.
Oh, my goodness.
Well, so all that to say, we're meeting with them on the 11th. So if there's additional
Sign up
info
there in future.
that
Okay.
you'd like us to follow up with,
Just to
we
be
can do
quick,
that on the-
what I noticed, Cristiano, and the panel, and to everybody, when they were building those developments in my area, in High Ridge Park here, we were told that, we talked about the school bus issue, that how it would cause traffic jam on those narrow roads without sidewalks. And we were promised that the school bus would turn into the development. One of them has a gazebo, but the next one don't have on the other
Yeah.
side. So, what happened?
We were in another room.
Yeah, we just heard that.
Did I miss
Sorry about that.
anything?
Next time I need to
We're
put up
just
a
talking
sign.
about the difficult bus
We're
situation.
talking about school transportation.
Yes, so I'm going to continue with this part of it.
Hello.
Hi,
Hi,
but since
good
we have,
afternoon.
yeah, the officer.
Yes.
Yeah, so we were told different rooms, so all of us were in a different room, so.
Oh my gosh,
Okay.
well, do you guys want to
Phoebe,
come grab
may I-
pictures?
may I ask a
I'm just
question?
thinking,
Yeah.
that would be useful.
As you
Once
come
they're
in, please
started.
sign in, there's a sign up sheet there. The panel would please sit at the front.
And looking for what is actionable, what is informative, and what needs committees or additional investigation. I do have a lot of question mark items, which you may be able to lend some feedback on. And granted, you're the council. That's different than the Board of Ed, who has different responsibilities in these roles. But one item, there's multiple pieces of software in flux during all this. Bus planning, bus routing with Zoom, bus routing with the county, efforts that we've done with the state, artificial intelligence, predictive analysis, and a lot of balls have been dropped in that, and we have competing packages going on there, and there's definitely a red flag there that needs to be addressed. Low cost, no cost. To put it bluntly, wherever that originated, is the root cause for a lot of this. Trying to initiate something which costs more, compresses timeframes at no cost, came at a cost. And this is obviously going to lean into the budget. How can we rectify this in the next
we
budget
understand that,
cycle,
yes.
possibly with categorical transfers? Private versus in-house. Most school systems have in-house busing. For some reason, it's cheaper for them. We've been contracting since the dawn of time, and many well-established businesses within the county. But rather than a review of privately owned versus contracting, we went with another contract in this particular case. I'll be quick. Impact of drop-offs. Clearly, there's a lot of traffic situations and bleed over. This is no longer Board of Ed. It starts to go into Public Works, public safety, as far as that's concerned. Yeah, a kid can walk 2 miles, but when it's thunderstorming and 40 degrees, the parents are going to drive and they're going to be frantic, and there's a lot of angst going on around that. Non-CDL driver selection, yeah, that's a cost-saving measure, but are people used to minivans, and do they have lights? Do they have cameras? Are you expecting a Zoom minivan with a green logo to stop when your kids are running across the street? And lastly, circling back around to what's within your control, budget. Can we look into categorical budget items to help prevent some of the flaws that occurred from lack of funding for this initiative? I stopped there. Thoughts?
Okay. I don't mean to say bluntly no to you because I would put you on next.
That's okay.
Not
the
because
same, so.
It's not the same
Administrative.
subject.
Yeah,
Let's
just
finish this
administrative.
school transportation and then we do your subject. Anything else to add to the school transportation issue? I guess not.
I mean, I have a list of things that went wrong, but the bottom line is, who are we holding accountable? I
You
know.
weren't, okay, so you weren't, there was the mix-up at the beginning of the meeting. One of the things that I did announce is that Senator Clarence Lamb, who represents a big portion of Howard County, has put into, well, I think it's actually already started putting into action a review of the entire debacle, including the procurement system that they used, how they actually got involved in these contracts, who got involved in the contracts, and he's doing this through a committee that oversees audits, I think, in the state senate. So that should start fairly soon. And I think that will give us some of the answers that we're all looking for, but it won't solve probably one of the also big questions that you just addressed, Brent, which is how we're going to pay for this, and what are we going to do in the future, and is this going to continue for the full year? And we don't know the answers to those questions. We are mere county council people, okay?
Well, but it makes you wonder so many things, because 250 routes at $117,000 a route, compared to $87,000 a route, is a difference of $7.5 million. So,
Was it because did they hire them because of the green,
We don't know.
the green?
I can't imagine that was it. I think
Yeah.
it has to do
We
more
don't know.
with the, like, from the meetings when they presented this, it seemed to be more about, if I use this word, just saying that they said efficiencies, because it hasn't felt very efficient.
No, but Lisa, I think
Yeah.
the other thing that you should know, that every year as county council members, we question the departments that come in front of us, the county departments, as well as the school district. Ironically, of our 4 hours that the school district spent before us discussing their budget, I think maybe 2.5 hours of it
A lot of it
was
buses.
just about the buses. We already were feeling like
Like, this is going to be a problem.
this is
gonna
going to be a problem. We're already, and this was in April. So we were already not feeling a sense of comfort. going forward. And we were reassured over and over again that it would be okay.
Well, and essentially, I felt like it was a lot of decisions have already been made and they can't be unmade. Because we asked, well, what if you just look at doing buses for K through third grade, the really little kids? Like, can you restore buses for just K through third? And, you know, it was, to do so would require us to redo everything all over again, and we don't have the capacity to do that.
All right, then, we can change and go to crimes, so let me get more.
I apologize for.
And quite a few people got a car stolen and broken into, so, if you have any issues with crime, so let's go.
Does anybody have any questions, like specific questions?
It's not necessarily a crime, but it's more of, I'm trying to think of the route. On, is it 216 and kind of All Saints, there's an area near the Wise grocery store.
Yep.
Where it's primarily on weekends, it's like a lot of 18-wheelers would park their vehicles. I know they can't park further up, but sometimes they have just cars on them, or just, you know, just 18-wheelers that just park there over the weekend. Not necessarily, like I said, a crime, but can they park there? Is that a hazard? It's right near that, kind of like the overpass.
So you're talking about so you're talking about before you get to 216 and, that overpass that goes back to that.
Yes, you
behind-
talking
yeah.
about Pilgrim Road?
Yeah.
It's just part of the 95.
You talked
As
about-
you're going westbound on
Okay.
316.
Right.
All those things.
You talking about Pilgrim Road?
No, it's right as if, like,
The
heading
other
towards
direction.
95, but they're just, you know.
As you're coming down 216 towards Laurel, there's a off ramp that goes around. That's I assume the area you're talking about.
Right.
That's what you're talking about, that area right there,
Oh.
on the side of the road. They're parking on the side of the road.
Yeah. Is that allowable?
The short answer is yes. Those
Okay.
vehicles are allowed to park there as long as the trailers aren't detached from the trucks. If the
Okay.
trailers detached from the trucks, there is a stipulation that prevents them from doing that.
Okay.
I know the same issues we get calls for periodically along All Saints Road for people parking different commercial trucks through there. I handle them pretty regularly, and I will tell you that the biggest problem that we have there as far as handling this on a human level is a lot of the guys that drive those trucks, they're owner operators, and they live right there in those communities.
Right.
So they're trying to do the best they can to stay within the letter of the law while still having their trucks there. One of the big ones we do is tow trucks over in that area. A lot of those guys are on call, just like a lot of our investigators, 24/7, and they try to park their cars in the best place possible. But again, trying to handle it on a human level, not necessarily just a letter of the law, that these guys are working and they're trying to do the best they can to make a living.
Got it.
So those trucks, yes, they are legal to park there.
Okay.
How about your area?
Well, one of the things that we've been trying to get a handle on is, you know, what's happening in our area and the county at large. It seems like everywhere, we talk about this, that everywhere the crime is increasing, but there doesn't seem to be a clear picture out there of really what's happening. We're just seeing a lot more activity in the last year. It's just increased, and we've had it happen to us personally, with a couple three attempted car break-ins and one successful, so, and a bunch in our area, so.
There definitely is an
I'm curious
uptick
as
in
to
that, with we spoke about it down the hall,
Yeah.
the theft of tires, the theft of vehicles, the break-in of vehicles, yes, there's definitely an uptick. And that's not just here, it's everywhere. I'm not sure why, I wish I had the answer, if I did, then that would right. It'd be a lot higher, right? Maybe, I don't know. But all kidding aside, like, we're aware of it. Our detectives, we have district detectives who handle usually things like that, where there's car theft, not car thefts, theft from autos, wheel thefts, catalytic converters. So once a report's taken, the officer sends that report through a computer. This guy signs it, approves it, and then it goes to a detective.
So if you had to name what would be the best deterrent, like somebody wanted to try to deter that, what would you recommend?
Are we talking about, if we're in townhouse community, cameras, lights,
Okay.
being vigilant? I'm sorry?
Oh, okay, keep going.
Yeah, so in a townhouse community, cameras, lights, people looking out their windows, calling each other, talking to one another. Everybody has the ring or the not everybody, but everybody has the Ring or
The camera.
the cameras, whatever the other things are, the Nest.
Camera doorbells.
Yeah, and there's a neighborhood app that's attached to that. So neighbor next door, neighborhood, yeah, I have it on my phone now. But anyway, this one app is awesome because you can pick the community that you want to see, and you can actually post things on that. So you could say, if you see someone walking around that doesn't, whatever, you like late at night, and you're like, why is this guy walking around? These two people walking around, or why is this, or why is that? You can put it on that app, and also call us as well. But you put that on that app, and then all your neighbors are seeing it. So then everybody kind of opens their windows a little bit, starts peeping out. Remember the old days where like you did something and your mom and dad knew about it before you got home? It's kind of that idea. So that app is great because it's communicating to everybody that has it. So if you're in bed and you're like, oh man, someone's outside, it just gives you a little bit more insight to what's going on in your neighborhood.
So where is the awareness, and may not be the question specifically for you guys, but maybe it is. Where's the awareness of the community as a whole as to what's happening? Because that's kind of what we're grappling with.
So you're looking for like...
We know what we experience. We know, like next door is a great example of a lot of hue and cry about everything under the sun.
The cats being missing.
It's hard, yeah, exactly,
Right.
and it's all,
Right.
dramatic, but it's hard to get a grasp on really, what the scenario is, and it doesn't seem like there's a central source of information that gives us a handle on really what's happening in Howard County.
So on Facebook, we release a daily bulletin.
Okay.
Yeah, Howard County
Yeah,
Police
yes.
on Facebook, yeah.
Is it the same one that you post?
Yeah.
Like, there's a post to the
It comes from the
website, so you don't
public
have to be on Facebook.
Yeah,
If you don't want to.
Yeah, it's published on the website and Facebook, but it gives you a kind of rundown of what happened the day before or that night, things like that. Not every single thing is gonna make it to that.
Right.
We do limit what we put on, not limit.
It could
We're not gonna
contain
put every
everything
single
that
call we run,
happens. Yeah.
if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because you would be reading all day.
Yeah.
Like, oh, yeah, there's this domestic, or there was a disorderly here. You don't have time to read all that. But we try to publish as much as we can to help the community understand what's going on in your area, whether it's theft from autos or theft on auto.
Would you say that's a good representation of kind of what the sense of what's happening?
Yeah.
Like the higher points are hit there, so if there's an armed robbery, that shows up
That's up on there, yeah.
before somebody
Yes.
trying to break into my car.
I think from my experience as a patrol officer and previously being a detective, what you see posted there is the crimes that affect the community as a whole. There are things left off there that are more personal matters, household issues, domestics, et cetera. We don't post people's public information out there like that. But as far as the trends you're asking about, I think that does a very good job capturing.
How about the theft that wise? It decreased or it increased?
I don't know the answer to that. I don't think anybody actually in the room has the answer to that, 'cause that would be Weiss that would have that
Wise
answer.
on All Saints Road, most times it happened like about 9, 10, 11 when the people, guys then would steal and run off, cars waiting on 216s, helter skelter. I was in the store twice when it happened, so they didn't interfere with the customers, but just the store itself.
I think some of those things we would not have an accurate representation of, just because I think some stores don't always fully represent or report those things to us.
Also, just
And on the deterrence, how about car break-ins? What's the best way to deter
Back to
that?
the same thing. Make sure our doors are locked. Don't leave things out and they open. It's all about opportunity with a criminal. If a criminal has opportunity, it's gonna take it, right? So if you leave out, and what can we do to control that? We take things out of their grasp, right? Clean up your car, make sure there's no change, make sure your phone's not there, your computer, your cell phone charger. It sounds so weird not to be able to leave your charger hanging out of your cigarette, whatever lighter thing or whatever it is, the charger. But some people are desperate. They break into your car for that cord. They'll break into your car if you have loose change laying out. Quarters a quarter of somebody. They're a thief.
And they're
So-
not very thorough. The guy that got in my car took like change off the top of it, and we had like toll change or, quarters, what, $20, $30 of it.
How much?
Well,
How
we
many? A
missed
couple
that.
bucks, maybe.
Yeah,
He or she got a couple bucks, right?
yeah, got a
That's
couple
crazy,
bucks
right?
and missed the 30 that.
But the other, if they find a row of cars, you know what I mean, and you leave your car doors unlocked, the likelihood of them breaking a window is less than just opening a tri door.
They don't waste any time if they can't get it easily.
Yeah, they don't wanna make noise, they don't wanna be heard, they don't wanna be seen, they wanna move through the night, not being detected. So if we have our stuff out of the car where people can't see it, it does make them move to the next car, and the next car, and then the next car.
How about
Just
you, Brent?
piggybacking also,
Oh.
off Officer Kindle, it takes cooperation between us, the community, I think just knowledge, like blocking your car. The amount of times I'm like, oh, they stole my brand new Toyota, I'm like, oh, they shouldn't be able to steal that, because unless without the key, there's no way. Oh, I keep my extra key in there. I'm like, who does that? But people do that.
Right.
So a lot of it, and they leave the door unlocked, so not even did they not break a window, their car's unlocked with fobs in there. And people do it, whether it's forgetfulness, and I know it happens, but we do see that often. Anecdotally, like Officer Kendall was saying, theft out of vehicles where you're just rummaging through your car, most of the times it's unlocked cars. They're not breaking out a window to get into the car. The few times that we do see that is when it is like they're actually stealing the car, and those are usually the Kias and Hondas that they're actually breaking into. And I know we put out a press release a while ago offering clubs. So again, it's just a matter of knowledge of if you have one of those vehicles, just come in, I'm not sure what.
Bring your registration.
Just bring your registration and they'll issue you totally free, you can get a club, which is obviously a big deterrent because they're just getting in and going very quickly.
The two things that I just want to offer you. One is that I was reading about how there's some thought that the lack of the immobilizers on some of those modern cars is actually becoming a draw for all sorts of car crimes. So it's because these two cars are presenting these opportunities, it's sort of growing that. But the other thing I wanted to say is that if you go to Howard County, if you search Howard County Police and you go to the website, and at the end, I can just text you this link if you would like, but there's this menu here and it has crime statistics and it has each one by year. So you can kind of get a feel year after year.
One last thing about the cars too, what we all forget, and I'm guilty of it myself. Your garage door opener, you don't park your car in the garage at night, you leave your door opener, they see that, you have access to your house, right? Because a lot of people, guilty, don't lock their garage door leading into their house because, oh, the door's down and who's gonna get into the garage, and you leave that up there and they're in, so.
All right, Brent.
I was gonna say, one tactic that when I lived in Baltimore City and my car would be broken in frequently, one of the things I ended up doing is I would empty out my glove box and my center console, and I would leave them, like the glove box open in the center console. So I had nothing in my car.
It's a great idea.
So I did that. For years I did that.
All right, let's go.
So, as a lifer here, I would like to say, Howard County has gone from crazy Wild West to professional, and I do appreciate all you do. Although you're not on film now. But I have one big picture thing and one small picture, and I'm going to go small picture. Demolition by neglect. We just lost a historic property just up the road. It seems to happen right before rezoning occurs. The Duval property burst up, the barn in Columbia, I could list off quite a few. We also have a lot of historic properties that are not currently being maintained. I know you don't enforce demolition by neglect, but do you see any areas that need extra attention by our legislature for additional support to protect?
That's a big question. Anybody want to answer that one? We communicate pretty well. Like, that's kind of I don't even actually have an answer for that, to be completely honest with you. I just know we communicate good with the government, our elected officials and things like that. So if there's an area that feels being neglected, then it needs to be, you gotta let us know. Like if you think about which area are you talking about? I'm not sure.
California Inn, Aerolab, used to be the Duval property.
Okay, where it's fenced in and things like that.
They've done everything short of putting matches up on the doorstep.
Is that a zoning?
That
Would that be a
that
zoning?
will be influenced by zoning.
Didn't Howard County buy that building?
Yeah, so that's
Adjacent.
We have the Hearst building, but not the Aero Lab and the houses behind it. And we don't have the California Inn, but the new director of Economic Development Authority is looking at it, is interested in assemblage, understands we don't want a Wawa.
Were you gonna put a circle there or something for the traffic? I mean,
Not on
whoever
Wawa.
approved that, put that big food warehouse back there.
Oh, yeah.
And all those trucks having to make that left turn in there
Yeah.
every day at rush hour. I mean, I don't know what they were thinking, they weren't thinking, but I thought they were gonna put address that traffic issue there with a circle or something. That's why they bought the California Inn. Is that incorrect?
No, they don't, we don't own the California Inn. In fact, there's a very kind neighbor who lives down the street named Vincent, who basically keeps an eye on the fence, and someone will cut a hole, and Vincent will let me know, and I'll let Dilp know, and then we'll tell the owner, you need to fix this hole. They won't fix the hole. Then we'll go to court, then they'll fix the hole, then the hole will reappear, then Vincent will tell me, and then we start this over again.
I'd
So-
kind of like to see them open it back up again. It was a nice place. I went to my whole life.
I remember when it was open.
Where's it
I understand
open?
your question,
So
basically.
yeah, so we need to own that property, and it's on, we want a Route 1 redevelopment authority. I think there's a collective recognition that Route 1 needs
Okay.
more than what it's got, and zoning alone, changing the zoning and saying this is what we want here, hasn't accomplished it, and we need to do a lot more to actually make it happen.
We've been talking about
Christian,
it
what
for a
are they
while.
planning to put on the horse property and the property at the back there that they own behind horse?
Nothing. I mean, we have there was a request for a proposal, so now we just hold these properties, and that is
Yeah.
sort of a one county executive to another county executive to another county executive, and it's, I think it's been challenging to have a steady priority through these administration changes, but I think that with some of the elements that are called for, in HOCO by design for Route 1, like a specific redevelopment authority that actually is focused exclusively on Route 1. Because a lot of the parcels are instead of being deep, they're very shallow. And so you kind of have to assemble two of them to have the parking needed and things like that. So, the long story short is we own those properties. The Housing Commission owns the one that used to be the mobile home park in the back behind it. We don't own the, what is it now? It was
Motel
Red
eight?
Roof, but now it's America's Best.
Okay, and what about, did you guys approach the owners of the building to buy California Inn?
Oh, yes.
And what they say?
But the county has to buy it at a price that is appropriate to what it's been appraised as. And we have to get multiple appraisals, and we can't sort of overpay for those types of properties. And so if they don't want to sell it to us, then they won't. We tried to get the one that's at, Whiskey Bottom and All Saints. There's like a little driveway in the trees, and you go into the woods back there, and we tried to get the Parks Department to buy that, but they did not want to sell to the county, so.
I think you.
As far as that question goes, you're asking if there's an uptick because of the property not being tended to and taken care of?
Well, more awareness. This
Yeah.
is a topic that we always address after the fire.
Right.
We just lost a building with 18-inch thick stone walls
Right.
down to the ground.
Yeah.
It was
I understand what you're saying. It's
burned.
kind of like, yeah, I don't really have an answer for
Big picture, general plan is underway. Police gets a little subsection in there. I know you're just representing your individual levels, but if there was a resource that needs addressing most, what would it be in the general plan?
You can look at us and tell us. We have 3 more.
And they're
years.
authorizing it. It's a loaded question.
That's a very good question.
Reducing
Seriously.
poverty, would that help?
I mean,
Stable housing?
I said you guys needed a 3rd district
residents.
station and a headquarters. That's what I put in as an amendment.
I mean,
I think the last thing we needed was just staffing, and
Yeah.
we've got that approved, and
Yeah.
right now it's just a matter of hiring those officers and getting them trained and on the road and managing attrition. You know, our department right now is very young. We have a lot of guys who are retiring, and we're a very young
Yeah.
agency, and that's just something that I think overall we're doing a good job addressing, getting people trained, but it's just hiring people in, getting them through that extensive training period and getting them on the road and operational.
And on that note, it's also just the money that, because it's a limited applicant field.
Yes.
And it is very
Yeah.
competitive right now with signing bonuses, whether
Yeah.
it's a lateral or just somebody new and just going through. It's very competitive right now, getting those qualified applicants, which we want to get. We don't want to get somebody else's leftovers. We want to get top tier, which I think we have done a very good job of doing, but I think we need to keep the eye on the prize to say, just make sure we keep that standard and we don't fall short just because we are falling short maybe in some budgetary or benefits that we can offer that might entice officers or new applicants to join our department versus somewhere else.
As far as social conversations amongst all officers across the state, we've always been known as one of the higher paying departments. So when we start to become level with others, the question is then, well, what are you offering that this other agency isn't, or what do I get? So.
Is there a
night-
residential
I was
requirement?
just gonna say,
Yeah.
yeah, we just passed,
we just passed a new
you guys
pay
a
scale
pay
last
raise,
night.
yeah.
No, I understand that.
You should be saying, thank you, Kevin Cristiano.
We
We
are-
appreciate it. Right, yeah.
So you know.
I'll give you aside that this police department has a very good relationship with the county government. I mean, the county government, we are part of the county government too, but we have a very good relationship, across the board. So, I mean, we're trying to get more people in. Recruiting is, like I said, very difficult time. It's just the way it is right now. It's, we don't make those rules, we want to keep our standards to where we are. So we have the best police officer for you and everybody right in the county. We don't want to take people because we need people. We want people to be here because we want them here, you want them here, and you expect nothing but the best. So Howard County has always been like that. It's not an easy department to get hired by because we expect the best, so.
And the money is there, but it's just a constant.
Yes.
tit for tat. So
Yeah,
it's just
we're
a
all
constant-
chased, yes.
So
Police
that
and
was not
teachers.
a jab.
And bus drivers. And nurses.
Do you have to live in Howard County to be a?
No.
No, you don't.
No, okay. No.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, let her go.
Quick question about crime. So I'm recently a new, I no longer have, my husband and I divorced, so I'm alone now in Savage. There have been a couple of crimes late at night, I think, and one kind of recently. So I'm like, okay, what do I do? So I have all my lights on, I have a camera in the back. Should I get a Ring camera from my front door? I keep my backlight on, my front porch light. Luckily, I'm on the corner, so there are some street lights, so that probably helps, right?
Right.
I keep my doors locked. We had twice homeless people got in our cars because my husband used to leave his door open, and he goes to work at 5 a.m, and there was somebody in there twice.
To answer your question, if you can have cameras, have them. I can tell you, if you come to my house, every corner is covered, and I have motion lights, so I don't leave lights on all night. I'd rather have the motion light, and then someone's like, oh, and when you have I have a Ring camera, so I don't know what other cameras do. Mine actually has a warning, if you step on the property, you're being recorded, it actually talks to you.
But
And
what
it
about
sends
if
me
people
my.
can't afford those things?
I'm not saying, I'm saying if you
No,
can,
I'm
if you
just
can, I'm just
asking.
saying if you can.
What
She
about
asked me if you could, and I'm saying
Yes.
if you can, yes. I would definitely have it. If you can't, you can do motion lights, that's great too.
Okay, and my other, I've always wondered this, so I have dogs. They will bark if people come like right up to the back door. Does that really deter people?
Yes.
Just barking dogs?
The people that are committing these crimes late at night, they do not want to be confrontational. They
Okay.
want to get in, steal your stuff, and get away without anybody having known they were there until the morning.
Okay,
So
good.
the
That makes
motion
me feel
lights,
better.
dogs, anything that puts
Dogs
My
sound-
dogs are
a
gonna
spotlight
protect
on them,
me.
for lack of a better term,
Yeah,
Do they
is the
sound
best
large? Do
thing.
they sound like big dogs? I didn't know.
Yes.
That's all.
And if I can, let me jump back real quick onto the Ring cameras, not to sell a brand, but Ring does have a portal that we have access to. And when we have a crime in a specific neighborhood, we can then send a request. We can basically draw a picture around a neighborhood and send a request to anybody who has a Ring camera in that area and say, and we write the message, says, last night we handled a theft from vehicle. If anybody has any footage between this time and this time that they would like to share with us, we will accept it. And it gives you the options. Either just give us full access to your camera. You can say, let me review it and I'll give you what I want. But that is a very, after I spent 8 years in investigations before I came out as a supervisor, and that was a awesome tool for us to get that and kind of help push things forward. And you don't have to be a Ring customer to use that. That is open
To all the cameras.
It's more seamless with Ring's cameras, but it is open for anybody. It's just like next door. You can get on there. You can even just share tips or.
So when you buy the Ring camera, does it, you have to register it or?
So if you buy a Ring camera, you're paying for their service. You'll be automatically in this little
Okay,
ecosystem.
And it's an app on your phone.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's not just Ring, it's also Nest or whatever. And whatever, I don't know the other brands. I just know the brand I use. So the other brands also correspond. They all work together. One app actually works for the neighborhood app, actually works with all those cameras. And you don't even have to have a camera to be on the neighborhood app. You can just have the app. and you can see and hear everything.
What's the name of
going on right in the
that? It's not
neighborhood.
next door, it's something else.
Yes, next door, I'm sorry. I
No,
keep
it's
saying neighborhood.
different.
Did you
It's
guys?
neighbors. It's next door is its own thing, and then there's neighbors.
Oh,
That is what you
neighbors.
said, next door neighbors, and I was
No.
like,
Yeah,
what
I'm
is
trying
that?
to find the
And this is
app.
like,
Sorry.
there's competing
So how you get
ecosystems
the
out there
app?
right now.
You just
What-
go online and
neighbor-
download the app?
Yes.
You just go into your app store or your Google.
And then, do you have to pay to use that app?
No.
No, I have Neighborhood Ring is what I have.
Yeah.
That's the app that sends me
Neighborhood
information,
ring?
right.
Okay.
So there's different apps, the two different apps. What's the other one?
Next door.
Okay,
Next door.
Next
Red-
door
Red-
is separate, it's more like a Facebook for.
I'll be less loaded, but I would be remiss representing the PTA. We have a lot of kids now walking further distances. They're all carrying $1,000 Apple phones and a Chromebook in their backpack. They're much more vulnerable now than they were prior. What kind of strategies are you using? And I'll ask my other question right after that.
What kind of
Kids
strategy
not
would
have
be-
AirPods in when they're walking.
Yeah.
Don't have your phone out in your face while you're walking. I have 3 children myself, and when you're walking on the street, you don't have AirPods in for safety there, and just so you can hear cars around you. And don't have your phone out in your face. Pay attention to the world around you. That's the biggest
Which
thing. I
is
would
easier
say.
said than done.
Yes.
And also just on some, I haven't seen that as a real crime trend, at least I haven't really seen much of that popping up.
We just doubled our exposure
Yeah, I was
recently.
concerned, like, just as a parent or, you know.
How about
related
the
to what
vigil
we're
on
doing.
Route 1 with the human trafficking? You guys still keeping an eye out there?
We have a unit for that.
I can't speak specifically to that. We do
Yeah.
have we have a vice narcotics unit, and our vice unit is actively working, but you'd have to go direct with them
Yeah.
to get more details.
And they don't share a lot of that information until they have somebody in custody. They're always working. So they don't share what they're doing until it's done usually, because they want to catch people, so.
And our next question is, if you suspect somebody doing human trafficking, but you don't have all the information in your hand to prove it, how do we handle that?
You can call us, because what happens is, you might have this much information, but that information might add to this much more information that we're already looking at. You might put that last piece of the puzzle together. So if you think bare minimum information, and you call, and you say, hey, this is kind of going on in my neighborhood, blah, 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 whatever it is, right? You hang up, that information makes it to the vice and narcotics people, and that might put that final piece of that puzzle together where they can actually get something done, you know what I mean? You never know what information you're giving at the time. It's always valuable.
It's essentially a tip line, like if you call the police department, they'll route you through to a tip line, you can leave a message. You don't have to give your name or anything like that.
Hope this won't get out because, on 2 occasions, I had strong feelings what was going on. I called in, and both occasions, it was indeed human trafficking. But, I like my neighbors and them to be more aware of it, because things are changing in all of us neighborhood. Walking, I could see little.
You should share your story though. You should share that with them, that you called and this is what's happened after you called. Like, share that with them, tell them, hey, if you think something's going on, this is what I did, I called, this happened, this is great.
When, I said, this doesn't look right, and it turned out to be exactly what I thought. So, this information here, we should all pay close attention, because I don't know how to say it, but I hope that is not so. A lot of people coming from the foreign countries, Central America, into Howard County, look closely at your neighbors, because you would see things that you never see before. And I would like this word to get on for us to look at.
Definitely share your
close
stories.
attention.
Yes, sir.
I would be remiss if I didn't include our Savage friends. They had a recent incident of a kind of pop-up party. And I'm going to segue into one of Deb's concerns too. I love sports cars and responsible use of sports cars, but there's also pop-up sports car gatherings.
Right,
And
we actually have a unit that's, a traffic unit, a traffic enforcement section. They're aware of that. They're working those pop-up car rallies or whatever you want to call it. I don't know what people.
How about the guy that's on Route 32 between 10:15 and 10:45 every single night?
Every night.
That one I don't know.
Every
night.
single night.
I hear him every night
Every
in my
single
house.
night. We can hear him. We all hear him every night.
I'll share that with the court or whatever, 10:45 and
It's between 10:15 and
10:45.
10:45
32 what?
every single night, on Route 32.
I don't know which way, cause I'm
He
in my
comes
house.
up
So
my
which,
way.
32 in like
He
Route
start-
1, 32
Oh, I
in,
would say
I-
it starts at 95.
If you guys
and
hear
comes-
me, yeah, it must be
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Route 1 or
Yeah.
County Line.
Okay.
Yeah.
To, over to Hickory,
Past
Cedar Lane.
Yes.
If I can jump in on this real quick, I can tell you guys that the groups that are doing this
What's that?
Is it
have,
new to you?
we have done a good job of turning them from coming back to Howard County. They've been vocal and basically said to everybody in their groups, stay away from Howard County, it's a pain, don't go up there with them anymore. What you may be hearing is people coming from PG, Hartford, Baltimore, trying to get down to PG or Anne Arundel or wherever. They're traversing through, but they are definitely not gathering in Howard County to the extent that they were a month and a half, 2 months ago.
So you're talking about the exhaust sound?
Yes.
Well, they got those cutout
yeah.
exhaust pipes is what it is. And then when they're flying, then they close them up when they see you guys.
They don't always close them up, but they also don't want to stop for us, and that's kind of a catch-22. When we try to stop them and they run,
I have a question.
there's
about-
different thoughts on all that, so.
I know you guys are really understaffed, but what is the, how many officers are in our area? Say this area right here, this from, say the elementary school over to North Laurel Road down to Route 1.
There are 5 beats in this immediate area. So there are 5 segmented zones in this immediate area.
Single officer.
It depends on our staffing numbers. Right now, our minimum staffing would have 5 and try to have +1 in that area. It all depends on
It just
staffing
seems
that
like,
day.
it just seems like we don't see, we used to see them riding through the neighborhoods a little bit more. I know, staffing is what it is, but, because I've offered, because we've had a couple incidents, and, 2 officers came to take reports, and I told them, you guys wanna come and park in my yard all day, it's fine with me, or you can leave one of your cars here, I don't care, I got plenty of room.
Okay, Ben,
And
we need to.
it would, it makes a difference, it'll deter, because
Oh, I
I
agree.
live right
I
on the
agree.
corner, but, and to the traffic thing, you gotta be aware of this, that on Route 1, North Laurel Road, the stoplight there,
Mhm.
and that guy, they got those 2 businesses, the tire place and then the muffler guy, right? And the guy parks that tractor and trailer out there, I can't believe somebody hasn't gotten killed there yet. I mean, it's right in the right-hand lane, and he just leaves it there. There's always something parked there during the day, rush hour.
You're talking about near the Cape corner?
Yes,
It's
right
a
there.
right turn only lane.
So just,
Oh,
just so you
by
know,
like Laurel Park.
Right,
Yeah.
by Cape corner, by
For,
the cakes, the big fancy cake shop.
so for any traffic complaints, there is an online portal on the
This has been
website.
going on for
So,
decades.
and that's, so put it on, like, go on, submit it, and then because it gets entered and goes to our traffic division.
So bottom line is,
And- 'cause
no
if no one-
complaints? Because I counted down.
Well, I don't know, because I don't get those complaints.
It's the guy that's
but
parked
if
on
somebody-
the
Yeah,
lane.
I get it,
Route
but,
1.
it might be the patrol officer he sees it, or he or
Every
she
day.
sees it, but they're on their way to another call.
Guarantee you every day.
But put it in there so you know it's addressed. At least then at least, if I would put it in, at least because they are addressing, anything that gets in there, they.
Yeah, I
either
kinda understand
assign
why
or
it
they
doesn't.
handle themselves.
It doesn't make
So
it
you
right.
know for a fact it's gonna be handled at some point.
So you're referencing the truck being parked there unoccupied or being left?
They're in and out of the truck, I mean, you have to watch it, when you go by, you know where, bottom of the bay is, that intersection?
Yes.
If you're coming southbound on Route 1, and you're making a right-hand turn, or you're in the second right lane over, you have to be aware, because they'll walk right out. I mean, you can, like he said, it's a wonder that nobody has either slammed into the back of them, or hit somebody on the road there, because they're out there every darn day.
Is it during daytime hours or nighhtime hours?
Yes, daytime.
Daytime, regular.
I have seen this, so when
More
I was
than
brand new
that.
on the agency, I started down here, I worked this area for 3 years. And there are a lot of dealerships, et cetera, where they park those trucks when they're loading and
Well,
unloading.
you understand that, but these guys are using that as their part of the
See, he's got so
business.
much junk.
Well, that's
in
why I'm
that
asking,
building.
there's 2 separate
Oh.
things. If it's occupied, being loaded or unloaded, that's one issue. If they're parking it there unoccupied for an
You're gonna
extended period of time,
find
that's a
it
completely
both
different matter.
How about you,
Oh, I was just gonna say, I used to, cause I'm so in Savage, I'm at the corner of Route 1 and 32. And I used to hear cars racing constantly. This was months ago, and then when you were talking about it, I realized I don't hear them anymore.
Good.
So you must.
July
That is a
4th
good
was,
point.
we
It
worked
is-
July 4th and
it
things
is
kind of hit a
bad.
peak that night when there was an incident up at the
That was
intersection of
bad.
Guilford and 1. And my officers, I sent them up there, and actually our chief was out, one of our majors was out that night, and we basically
Yeah, it's
blocked
been
off
silent.
strategic areas up and down Route 1. And after that, it definitely started dropping off.
On that
This may be
traffic
an
concern?
issue for our county council. You may need to be involved too. You know, near to that automotive shop, I think Richard is his name, who own it. It's an
Not anymore,
automotive
but
shop.
not anymore, Central Tire.
Okay, and then they have a next business there, and then they have that open spot where that environmental, I would call it, a lot of old cars are parked in
That's the one.
that place there. And to me, all that rust in that area washes up into those drains. And to me, talk about Whiskey Bottom and Route 1 there, California Inn. That area with all those old cars, they've been used for years and years, the parts must be obsolete. That place looked like a hazard to me, not only for vagrancy, but environmental hazard. I don't know if you guys need to address that here.
So we have another one of those on the other end of Route 1, away from you guys, the Smith property, which could someday be a beautiful redevelopment. But it won't, trust me, what's over here would not even hold a candle to the Smith property. It looks like you walk in there and you think, this is a brownfield. The state, somebody needs to come in and clean this up, and whoever owns it should pay through the nose. But, and they have given them, apparently they've given Mr. Smith notice after notice after notice that he needs to clean it up, and it's still where it is. And he is doing the exact same thing on his property. I don't know why MDE, the Maryland Department of Environment, isn't more, yes, aggressive in dealing with somebody like this. I don't understand it. I've asked about that property, and it's not in my district, over and over again, because I found it so concerning when I toured it. So right now, I think there's a wait and see, because a developer has still in the course of buying the property, and then they may end up having to clean it up.
Well, I did broach the guy that owned the property with the rusty vehicle around 2016, and he was nasty.
I think people who own properties.
He
like
was
that
nasty. I asked him what is he going to do about it. Is it so right?
Yeah.
And when people pass by, you breathe that rust air, it goes to your lungs. He was very nasty about it. He wasn't even say, well, okay, I'll try to do something about it. But if you look at those cars, you don't need all those old, those things must be all like my grandmother. He doesn't need all those old cars for parts, because they're obsolete. Something needs to be done.
Yeah.
So you guys as county council and the police is here, I hope you guys could work on some, you guys know who own the property. It's the property next to Cape Corner and next to automotive place. It's a place where a lot of old vehicles is, down on Route 1 there. Somebody need to approach
You know,
them.
I'm gonna follow up on a question you started to ask earlier to you all, because this has been a nationwide trend, and you started to address the shoplifting situation. And I'm wondering too, Josh, if you're seeing this in the courtroom, and if you're having to prosecute more of these cases, these shoplifters who are coming in as a group, some of them are local, although it appears that more of them are literally coming down 95, and I don't know if you all heard about the big bust in Tyson's Corner 2 weeks ago. They caught a couple with something like $25,000 worth of goods that they had in their car, things that they had picked up from Tyson's and other malls along 95. And this has become a racket where people go up and down 95, but it also seems to have become sort of a part of uncivil society
A
in,
culture.
in localities, and I'm wondering if you all have seen an uptick in this type of crime, and I'm wondering if you've seen it more in, Josh is our deputy state's attorney, and if you've seen it more in prosecuting these.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely, I think there's a couple of issues in this. One is that a lot of the stores have like basically a policy where they don't attempt to stop, like a no stop policy. Like Home Depot does that. So a lot of the stuff happens without them stopping, because their whole idea is that we're just gonna get the license plate numbers and we'll get the information and we'll get the people eventually. So I think it's happening. They look at it from a liability perspective. If one of their security guards were to engage with one of these people and there were to be that person were to get hurt, they also look at it from the perspective of if their employee gets hurt. So that's kind of like a policy issue that with the stores, unfortunately. One of the things I do think we've noticed an uptick in is the stores that do engage and try to stop the shoplifter. What will happen is a shoplifting turns into like a robbery, and I'd say probably for the last 3 years I've seen a lot more of those. So we call them like schmobberies, because they come in with the intent just to steal, and then somebody will say stop, and then they'll either pull out mace or they'll hit the person. Nothing
What
like
is the
super
difference?
violent. Well, it
Sorry,
turns
shoplifting
it goes
and
from
robbery.
so a shoplifting is just a theft, right? So
Okay.
you're going into the retail establishment, you're taking the property, and whether you're going out with it without anyone noticing, whether you're concealing it, or sometimes, I mean, I've seen at Home Depot, they just put all the stuff on like one of those carts and they just walk out with it, or they'll, sometimes conceal it, sometimes they don't, and then they just go, and it's not even situations where they throw it in their car really quickly. Sometimes they'll just methodically put it in their car and they drive away.
They know they can do it.
They know they can get away with it, but then other times, if they are confronted trying to take stuff, when they are confronted, they'll resort to violence, or that's what it calls. So that's what. So robbery is assault, is theft plus assault.
Thank you.
So that's the difference, and then it becomes a much more serious
I'm
crime.
sorry the Board of Education is not here, but don't you think we should re-educate our young ones? There are other ways to obtain stuff than robbing people?
I think a lot of the things that you're saying that Josh is referencing actually don't involve the juveniles. A lot of the stuff where you're seeing these bigger commercial thefts that turn robberies from Home Depots, Lowe's, Nordstrom Rack, Target, oftentimes those are all people that do not reside in Howard County. Sometimes they do, but oftentimes they're people that don't reside in Howard County that travel around regionally, commit these thefts, and then go to sell them in other locations.
What about the one that happened in Columbia a couple of weeks ago, or about a month ago, but 13 or 30 stores were...
That was burglary.
Those were burglaries over the nighttime
Oh, you
hours.
guys did get them?
No, they got them, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
I didn't know you got
if there's a general sense, I'm driving into Baltimore City on a fairly daily basis now, and there's a sense there when you're driving through that city that you better take care of yourself, because there's nobody there to take care of you. Basically, that's the sense that you get, at least I get, and I try to do a good job of that. I don't get that sense in Baltimore or in Howard County yet, but I wonder, if we're headed that direction, if the message isn't out there. And hearing you guys say that you kind of shut down the racing at night, and that's a strong message.
It is. It's a very strong message.
And anywhere you can put that out, or anywhere you can say, okay, we're not putting up with this, the message goes out, don't come to this county. That to me is one of the ways we
You're
can
usually
stop
never gonna
it.
hear that, right? You're
Say
not gonna
again?
hear about it. No one in this room is probably gonna hear about that.
No,
unless
but we
talk
should.
about it.
That's
Right,
what
but
I'm saying, we
who
should.
hears about it? Who the guys, the people that are creating the problem?
Right,
They hear it,
they're
and it goes,
talking, yeah.
it quickly goes through social media. Hey, don't go to Jessup tonight because, or don't go to here, or don't go there because Howard County's all over us. So the
So-
message is getting, don't take this wrong, the message is getting to the right people because they're not coming back, right?
Right.
So it's just, it doesn't always make it to everybody. I don't
So
know how
there-
we get that out there, Mike, because it's hard to say what we stopped and not knowing what we stopped.
But I mean, in terms of just sort of the overview, because that's kind of where I live, I want to know, what my environment looks like. What
Right.
happened to us is only us, so I don't know how prolific that is.
Uh-huh.
But when I hear that kind of thing, and now, once you say that, I realize it, because I was having trouble sleeping for months, I mean, literally months, they were waking me up at 2 in.
But you've seen it,
Yeah.
definitely seen a decrease.
It's a huge
I'll let the guys know,
difference.
because they'll be really happy
So
about
like
that.
that.
I will
And
say,
they-
piggyback on that too, our district detectives, we have one guy in there who's just been amazing the
He's
whole
the
time he's
man,
been in
huh?
there. And he
Good.
gets some of these crimes that you look at one of them and you wouldn't have much to investigate. And he puts them together and he's able to go and get bigger prosecutions on these.
Yeah, that's what we did, actually talked about the room right before we came over, the
Okay.
district detective actually
Yeah.
worked in lots of cases.
And if we, you know, as a society, I guess, the things that we would ask of the county, you know, and knowing you guys are probably, you're, what do they call it, the pointy end of the spear in the military speak, you know, you deal with it all. If that kind of activity is going on to address these individual problems that we keep having in large numbers, like the shoplifting and that kind of thing, that's the best we can ask of you. And now we have to look at the courts, and obviously the funding is part of that, and, you know, but, you know, what's going on the other end if these people aren't getting prosecuted, or if prosecutions don't mean anything, which is a lot of what's happening in the city.
At the same time, the
We have
work
a
got-
great state's attorney's office.
There we go.
I would give them whatever money they want. We're just here to tell you that is our role.
I'd like to just touch on that, the state's
Okay.
attorney's office, the police department work very well together.
That's good to hear.
Our state's attorney's office prosecutes, I can't speak for other jurisdictions, I'm probably sure you worked at other.
I've worked in the city,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I've worked here. I mean, we do a good job, we have a great relationship.
I have a
with the
question
police. We
for
get good judges with, I mean, we get much harsher sentences here,
Yes, please.
than we do like in other jurisdictions. The only real issue, I'd say, the present issue in Howard County, which is really statewide, is like the legislators, not these legislators, but the state legislators, they changed a lot of the juvenile laws. So basically,
Yeah.
it's really difficult to prosecute juveniles and hold them accountable.
Weren't they supposed to go back on that? I
No, I
remember
mean,
reading they were.
I think what's
concerned
gonna
about
happen
that.
is the juvenile crime is gonna continue trending in the way that it is, and then the public's gonna get outraged, and they're gonna force the legislator to shift it back, but right now it's,
Or what's happening in
Exactly.
Baltimore City is gonna continue to happen, whereas
I-
people are taking the law
That,
in their own hands.
that juvenile laws are across the state.
Yep.
Not
Oh,
not
yeah,
one
I
jurisdiction,
understand.
yet,
So if
statewide.
if I catch
Crazy.
a juvenile busting into my car in the middle of the night,
yeah, not much is gonna happen.
Nothing.
Well,
So
so
what
would
if
you
I
do
do
the
something?
the diversion?
Yeah.
Something on
You will be
YouTube.
prosecuted.
Well, I mean.
so if he's
so-
on my property, breaking into my car, vandalizing my car, and I go out there and we have a confrontation, I'm gonna get in trouble? Is that really what it comes down to?
I would
I mean,
tell
I
you
wouldn't
that more and more
assault
juveniles
anyone.
are being found carrying guns today too.
Yeah.
So I would recommend not to do
Assume that-
that.
Don't, yes, be like the store.
I understand, I don't need a lecture on what not to do, but I'm just asking.
Here's my
That's
recommendation.
That's what it seems to be happening. They walk around, you know, look, I've lived in the same place for 73 years, on that corner. And they walk up and down there with their clothes half hanging off, acting like, you know, they own the place. Very seldom they come up into our yard, but we've had 3 incidents now in less than a month. And are the juveniles, I don't know. I don't think they were based on the camera. But, you know, these kids are big now. They're all of them are bigger than me, but, you know, so it's very disheartening to think that nothing's gonna happen to them. When we had a guy, this has been probably, I guess, six or 7 years ago. Middle of the day, my dad used to go out, had a routine, go out in his garden, work in the garden, go in and watch Days of Our Lives at lunchtime, go back out afterwards, take a nap out, sitting by the shed. We came home from work one day and he says, "Did you take the lawnmower?" And I said, "No, I haven't been home." He said, "What?" "It was there when I was out there." Long story short, go out, lawnmower's gone. I said, "It was there this morning." So I go down to the pawn shop on Route 1, they're sitting right there. This was in August, 100 degrees out. So I go in and I said, "Hey, that's my lawnmower." He said, "Yeah, I just bought it from a guy came in." And I said, "Now you can tell me that a guy pushing a lawnmower down Route 1 at 2 o'clock in the afternoon on a 100-degree day isn't suspicious?"
Right.
"Oh, we think it's yours, we'll call because you guys got a separate department for that, for the pawn shops."
Yep, yep, yep.
It took me 2 months to get that thing back. And the officer that came, and I don't remember his name, said, "Doug, do anything to it. Look at for it." And this is
and that's
before all
it.
these juvenile things. So, I
I'd
just,
say
I don't
contact
get.
this, your state legislature, I mean, that's,
Yeah.
that's the only way to
I
change
agree.
it.
Is there a contact for that?
Is there what?
If you email me, I can send you.
I'd be interested in that,
Yeah, I
because I
can
was
send
gonna
you
write a
sort of
letter
who
on that
represent,
one.
yeah.
To answer
So-
your
and
question
I can also
about,
send you the police
to
list.
answer your question about confronting them, call us.
Yes,
I
please.
know, call us though.
3 o'clock.
Don't get yourself, it's not
not
worth
gonna-
getting yourself in trouble, let us come and do our job and, keep yourself safe.
It was just a scenario.
I know, I know, I know, and I understand what you're saying, keep yourself safe, keep your family safe, let us do it.
Okay.
Property's property's replaceable, you're not, that's what everybody needs to remember in the room, like, who cares if it's a car, who cares if it's a lawnmower? You care then, and you care when you go buy a new one, but at least you're there to go buy a new one, right? You don't wanna have that, that kind of confrontation where it turns deadly.
Remember the riot, the theft that happened in Colombia, and it was all over the news that so many happened the same night?
The 13th.
You said you guys caught the person. Did you guys put it back on the news to let the public know
That was in the news.
that
They put it.
they were caught? Because I
Yeah, I
didn't
think
see
one
it
of the
or
guys
hear
had
about
like
it
a,
on
was
the
on
news.
probation.
Because that would send a message to them to say, hey, you guys did this, but
That
guess
was on
what?
the news. It was on the news.
Yeah, it's a press
Yeah,
release.
They put it out.
And
They
you
put
know
it
what,
out.
I mean, hearing that, I think we, like my office, we could certainly do a better job of highlighting when these cases are closed, so that way, it's sort of helping to amplify that, and that is getting.
Well, these guys do a tremendous job.
They
I mean,
do.
We've had to come out and I have no
Oh.
problem with it.
Thank you.
The chief of Howard County Police used to live right down the street from me. We used to get his mail, because his name was Walter, mine was Walter. He lived in
Long time
North
ago.
Laurel's whole life, West Walter, right? Well, things have changed a lot since he was there. But you guys, this young force you have, they're really outgoing. They really want to do a good job, and I think that they don't get enough credit. They don't get enough pay. I know you had to raise, but it's not enough.
We did, we'll keep giving it
They
to
did
you.
a real big.
But
No one ever makes enough money, right? I won the lottery tonight, so.
But you guys,
I
we should get
think,
more.
we cover enough about the crimes. Michelle, you want?
Because I know the hour is late, just wanted to get your advice on any tips for handling aggressive panhandling, especially like at a gas station.
Oh, it's all
That's a touchy
over the
subject.
place.
Okay, so the Supreme Court ruled that, that panhandlers can stay on that median, right? They can't enter the roadway and ask for money, technically by law. It's a traffic citation if they do that, if we catch them. How to handle it, keep your windows up, don't make eye contact. A lot of them in Howard County that I've encountered, because I live in the county too, and I drive around, they just walk by you. If they're just walking by you, just let them walk by, don't make eye contact, don't roll your window down. If they're banging on your window or something like that, or being aggressive, once again, call us. Even if you don't wait, even if you don't want to wait, even if you don't want to talk to us, call us so we can go talk to them. We have relationships with a lot of people that stay in that median strip. Like, we know them by name, they know us by name. Hey, look, someone called, okay. It's kind of that. We really do have pretty good relationships with a lot of the guys and girls that do that, so if they get a little aggressive sometimes, they're not thinking, and we can go and talk to them. So
It's more like being
don't hesitate to call.
approached at you're getting your gas and.
Oh, that kind of
You're
thing?
aware of your surroundings, but here comes someone out of nowhere.
The surrounding thing, so the gas stations, make sure your doors are locked in your car, don't leave your purse on your seat.
Your car's not running.
Your car's not running.
Well, the fact that you guys know some of these panhandlers, that really interests me. Do you know whether they're living here in Howard County? Is there a way to connect
A lot of them are
them
homeless.
to social services? Is there a way we could
You
get
gotta want
them?
help.
They don't, not necessarily.
You gotta want help.
You offer service.
Yeah.
Oh, you do offer services?
Yeah, we will offer grassroots. Last week I stopped for a guy and we have a backpack with some stuff in it. Offered to him and, hey, do you need anything? It's 101 degrees. There's a bottle of water with a backpack with a sleeping bag, but I'm trying to, have that conversation.
There's food.
He or she doesn't want the help. They just,
But
Our
sometimes they
vacancy
say
rate
they're
is
from
so
the
low.
homeless shelter, during the day, the homeless shelter tell them they have to go, they can't
Right.
stay on the property.
it's not open during the day.
And that's when they go and seek the best way they think they can make a living by.
But a lot of times they don't even want the help. That's the thing, like, the encounters we have with a lot of homeless people, they don't want help, they don't want the help.
Yeah.
If it's cold, obviously we really, hey, you gotta come inside. Super hot, we really try to get them inside, but at the end of the day, they're adults and we only have so much we can do.
And a lot of time with the homeless population, there's a deeper root problem that needs to be
So
addressed.
it's a
Oftentimes this
psychiatric
addiction is
problem.
some sort of drug addiction.
Drug
So
addiction,
trying to,
So-
just, homeless people oftentimes don't want help, but even drug addicts, until they want that help, all the services in the world being offered to them aren't gonna help. So it's trying to get over that hurdle with them, to get them to want that help and then getting that root cause.
Well, and it's important to separate
Do we
chronically
have a
homeless
psychiatric
versus
hospital?
experiential homelessness. We do not have, we have behavioral health beds. The county has been investing in expanding behavioral health beds at Howard County General and at Shepherd Pratt and trying to work with the state. The hospital system is very highly regulated by the state. But, you know, essentially everybody in the county is pushing to get more of these beds.
Maybe
But I
we need-
really want to highlight something before we move off this topic, which is that in Howard County, we have a coordinated system for people who are experiencing homelessness. And we add people, but it is very hard for people to get off this list because once you lose your housing, it is very hard to get back into housing, to have first month's rent, last month's rent, security deposit. Now they're basically saying if you want to rent this apartment, you need to have like 3 times the annual income that you do. So we have a real challenge in terms of getting people who do want help. There's chronically homeless people who have other issues going on who would struggle in that situation. But we do have people who had a medical setback, loss of a spouse, whatever the issue is that caused this financial tumble. They're trying to get back, but there's just a lot stacked against them.
But does our county has a hospital for the mentally ill people, a specific building? This is where we house mentally ill people and we treat them. We don't.
Most
bring
counties
them in.
don't have.
There's
that
nowhere
anymore. Yeah,
in-
I don't know
We
that.
need a
I
hospital.
don't think anybody has.
Once Reagan deinstitutional, there was a whole effort to deinstitutionalize because there were absolutely issues in the institutions the way they were, but instead of creating an actual measured, nuanced system that sort of met people where they were, it was like, we're just not gonna do that anymore, but it didn't replace what they were gonna do. So there are a lot of, there isn't a place
The
where
answer's
someone
no,
can
we
go
don't.
get that kind of care.
Yeah.
No, they need care.
Yeah, do you know
Yes,
the panhandler on Gorman and Route 1 where McDonald's and Royal Farm is? He's mean, he like yelled at me once, and he also walks, like, what if I kill him by accident? I mean, I go down all the
He's on
time,
Guilford.
he walks between the cars.
Yeah, so what's he look like?
He's got gray hair, like down here, and he's kinda short.
Gorman Route 1?
Route 1, I think it's Gorman where
Guilford.
McDonald's
I think
is.
Guilford or?
No,
Gorman is where the Wendy's is and the Weis, and then the McDonald's
Oh,
and
no.
the Burger King and the
Guilford.
taco truck is
Guilford.
Guilford.
Guilford,
Guilford.
it's Guilford, and he's there all the time,
Oh, I
and,
actually know that the fire department and our emergency services, there's a group of people in that area, and they actually also know him all on a first name basis.
yeah, but I mean,
Once again,
he's dangerous the way he walks.
yeah, walks in between traffic and
In
stuff like
between
that.
the cars.
Is he staying at that homeless shelter, you think, on Guilford Road?
Grassroots?
Not.
The Leola Dorsey.
But he's
Yes,
combative.
Senator Dorsey.
The one by
Have you
Days Inn?
talked to him? Cause
I
he's
talked to him.
combative, he's not
Yeah,
nice.
he's not a very tough, he doesn't talk very much, so, I don't know what.
Well, he's
as long as you
probably
can make
scared
him
to talk to
right,
you,
as long
but
as
he
so much
talked
you
to
can,
me.
You know,
Yeah.
have someone talk to you, so, yeah.
Just out of
Alright.
curiosity, how many of them are vets?
That I don't know the answer for.
That's a good question.
I don't, usually the question,
Because
usually,
they need more care.
usually the conversations are quick and it's just, they don't, they don't want to talk to me because I'm in uniform.
They're not
Yeah, and I get
interested.
it, I can understand it, but I just I kinda engage with them, so.
There was a guy named Paul Plant. Anybody know what became of him? He used to be around by Whiskey Bottom there, selling
Mhm.
PE Plant. I know him.
So every year we do the point in time homelessness survey. It's every January. It's an annual survey, and that survey is then used for a whole bunch of other purposes. But part of it is to find out and do that survey of who are we finding out on these nights We go, like, I have volunteered multiple times on this. You go back into the woods behind Aero Lab, you go with the police, thankfully. And so, you know, statistically, we have a lower number of homeless veterans who are experiencing homelessness. We have an Office of Veterans and Families here. And then is Officer Cromwell still sort of on the upward, like a special detail?
No, he's back in patrol.
So he has built a lot of relationships with people who are experiencing homelessness.
I think people get an edge to go home, so,
Thank you.
Well, I do
Thanks for
think this is
coming
one of
out.
the best places in the
And-
country to live.
I would-
like I said, I
I
hope
agree.
you guys spread the news to
I
tell
like that.
people
I definitely
that
agree,
we're
because
here,
I moved here specifically.
that I bring
because of
them
our
together.
You guys-
How often are you gonna do this?
Lots of officers.
I try to get meetings, two big
There's no
meetings
requirement.
a year, one in
Give us
March,
referrals.
April, and one around October.
Okay.
Because we supposed to have
Do they have
two
any
at least
cars?
meetings around March, April,
You got it?
and October, to have meeting towards the year to wind up. I must say thanks to our panel, the police force,
Thank you.
our county
Congrats.
councils,
Thank you guys, thank you.
Howard
for-
County State Attorney Deputy to come together here so they could hear
Yep, we're all one
from
big
us.
team.
And those who didn't come out, they miss out because this was an ample opportunity than talking behind backs to talk face to face and get it ratified. And I hope we get more alert and to handle situations, especially crimes. The school transportation, I think we may able to iron out and like put it out. But crimes, it's a difficult thing to deal with, and human trafficking. And like I said, I don't want to see a mass shooting in Howard County, please. So please, we all should take note, tell our friends and family, we need to be a spy on each other. That's my take for that.
Thank you, everybody, we appreciate you.